So the fight for justice for Young Dolph is continuing on, and we have seen some crazy news coming out in the last couple of days surrounding the alleged mastermind of the Young Dolph hit. Now, I need to rewind you all the way back to November because a lot of people were thinking, hang on a minute, didn't we already get justice for Dolph? So things are a little bit complicated, and I'm just going to break it down for you today. Very simply, very quickly, I'm going to try not to talk too long. But essentially, the Young Dolph situation, it's been going on for months at this stage, okay? It's been a few years since we lost the absolutely legendary Memphis rapper, Dolphland. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get a fast pass to Dolphland, man, and it's just been so sad to see one of the greats of the game be taken out in such a treacherous way. But the wheels of justice, they've been moving. They might have been moving slowly, but they have been moving, okay? And look, there were allegedly, I don't even really need to say allegedly at this point, there were two shooters in the Young Dolph situation, okay? And the main shooter in this situation had already been sentenced to 35 years in prison, okay? This is Justin Johnson. He was sentenced to 35 years for the murder of Young Dolph. This is a guy, he'd been rapping under the name Straight Drop. You might remember him from that music video wearing the yellow jacket, and people were clowning on him. People were saying, yo, he put on his yellow jacket. He was ready for that prison jumpsuit. Yellow, orange. He was wearing the orange jumpsuit. He was already ready for prison. This was him. A lot of people, if you remember, I did a video about this guy back when it happened, back when he first dropped this video. There was a lot of speculation that there were hints and clues in the video that were letting people know that he'd taken out Young Dolph. And obviously this guy ultimately ended up facing justice. So he was sentenced to 35 years for being the kind of lead, I guess the lead shooter in the situation. And, you know, this been reported, this was back in November, that this all went down.
Well, now to this story, more prison time for the man convicted of murdering Memphis rapper Young Dolph.
That's right. Justin Johnson was found guilty last month in the 2021 murder. Today, to an additional 35 years was added on top of his life sentence. Action News 5's Imani Williams was in court today when the judge made this sentence. She joins us now in studio to break it all down. Imani?
Well, there are 3 counts Justin Johnson was found guilty of: conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a convicted felon in the possession of a firearm. Well, let me break this down for you. Johnson was already sentenced to life for the first-degree murder count. Today, Shelby County Criminal Court Judge Jennifer Mitchell sentenced Johnson on the other 2 counts. 35 years for the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder count and 15 years for the convicted felon in the possession of a firearm count.
So what's really interesting about this situation, there were 2 shooters. We've seen that footage and it's been circulated on trial. There's another angle from inside the store where we can see the moment that these 2 shooters emerge from a white Mercedes and open fire. Now, Justin Johnson, he's got life and 35 years. Now, the other individual, Cornelius Smith, he tried to take a different route. He tried to go the telling route, and he essentially said, I'm gonna join the state, and I'm gonna try and take down the alleged mastermind. Okay, and look, the alleged mastermind, Hernandez Govan, he had his day in court recently too. So this was circulating. The alleged mastermind behind Young Dolph's killing would be the second to stand trial in Memphis shooting. Now, this has been going on for a little while, okay? He was facing charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and attempted murder. Got the article for you there. This is super interesting, okay? He allegedly directed the 2 people that did the shooting. He rejected an offer from the state with a guilty plea. When was this? August. So this is just a month. Yeah, just a month ago. He rejected a plea just a month ago, and he was due to face trial. This is him, man. You might recognize this face. You might have seen this face going around. Okay, and look, the other shooter, he took the stand. All right, he went full YSL Woody. He took the stand and he basically said, yo, I need to get out of this jam. I'm trying to get out of this. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to take the stand. I'm ready to do whatever it takes by any means necessary to get out of this situation. And it was pretty explosive. He jumped on the stand and he said a whole bunch of interesting stuff to try and put Hernandez Govan away for good. So he took the stand. He did his thing. He tried his best. I'll play you a couple of clips from that. And then I'll tell you how it all went down. So he took the stand, he got up there, and he let everybody know what it was and what was going down.
Cornelius Smith.
And for the benefit of our jurors who may be taking notes and our court reporter, could you spell your first and last name?
Cornelius Smith.
So he would basically go on the stand, he would answer a whole bunch of questions, and one of the most interesting things was he claimed that he was offered money and that there were bounties on any rappers from Paper Route Empire. Now, this stuff was allegedly coming from the very top. If you know the situation, if you've seen my videos on Young Dolph, even from back when he was alive, he was in a very dangerous feud with Yo Gotti. These are the two biggest artists in Memphis. They were at war over their music careers, okay? As you know, Yo Gotti signed a bunch of artists. He had Black Youngster on his label. He had all sorts of videos pulling up in Dolph's hoods with rifles and stuff like that. And, you know, as we all know the famous story, Young Dolph was shot at 100 times in Charlotte, okay, but he was bulletproof, he was riding in the bulletproof truck. They couldn't get him down. He got shot again in LA. They were really out to get Young Dolph. And as we found out, there were allegedly a number of bounties put on the Paper Route Empire rappers, the entire team, with Young Dolph being the biggest bounty, okay? So look, Cornelius Smith, he said that he knew he was trying to make some money, and he basically was offered. And the interesting thing about this is obviously you got Yo Gotti, the head honcho. Now, Yo Gotti hasn't faced any charges. There's not been any conspiracies put on Yo Gotti. But Yo Gotti's brother, Big Juk, who, if you know the channel, you've seen my content on Big Juk in the past, man. You know that he was allegedly the person that was trying to set up the plays. He ended up getting taken out. He was shot to death after a funeral, and he wasn't able to escape the street justice. And the wheels of justice couldn't quite get to him in time before the streets got to him. But the state still tried to get down Hernandez Govan. And Cornelius Smith took the stand. He broke it all down. He said there were bounties on the Paper Route Empire rappers, and he was trying to come up and get his bag.
Going to buy pills on my own from him. You know, he started asking me, I want to make some money. You know, he knew ways I could get some money. I'm like, yeah.
Did you want some money?
Yeah, because sometimes I go to him and can I get a couple pills on credit? So, you know, that was when you want to make some money? I'm like, yeah.
So he claims that he was going and buying pills from Govan, and I heard that he lost his son. He was going through a hard time with his mental health. He ended up getting hooked on some pills, and he was buying them from Govan. And Govan said, yo, you want to make some real money? We might have some work for you.
And why did you need money? Were you working at the time?
Yeah, nah, not really. I wasn't just working like that. I couldn't just keep a job with a PA like that. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay. So you wanted money. What did you want money for?
A lot of different reasons. Make sure my children were straight, you know, pop me a couple pills, you know, make sure I was good. A lot of different reasons.
How many children did you have at the time?
I had 5. I got 5 now, but I had 6.
You had 6 altogether. But
Yeah, it was after my son got killed. I had 5.
Okay. And who was the mother of those kids?
Letitia Jackson.
So you wanted money to make sure your kids were okay. You pop a few pills, and you'd be all right. Did you have a girlfriend at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your girlfriend name?
Miss Angela.
Miss Angela. Does Angela have a last name? Arnold?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, yeah, 5 kids, a girlfriend,
yes,
and a pillhead.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So at some point, Mr. Govan asked you if you wanted to make some extra money.
Make some money.
And how were you supposed to make extra money?
Well, he told me that, you know, it was a bounty on a couple paper out here.
Okay.
He said there was a couple bounties. There was a little bounty on Paper Route's heads.
I ain't understand nothing you said.
It was a hit on, it was a hit at the time on a couple guys in Paper Route here on Paper Route.
So a couple rappers on the Paper Route Empire label, that's Dolph's label. He said there were a couple hits out for those guys.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, and what were some of those individuals' names, if you can recall?
Paper Route Woo, Young Dolph. I don't know all the names, because I ain't know who they were.
At what point did he mention the actual bounties, as you say?
One night leaving getting some pills. He mentioned the prices on, you know, Woo had 50 on his head. Young Dolph had 100 on his head.
So he said Paper Route Paper Route Woo had 50,000 on his head, and Dolph the head honcho $100,000 bounty to take him out.
Somebody had 5 on it, he had 10 on it. He mentioned the prices too.
So it was almost like a catalog. This person cost this much. This person cost
telling
this
us
much.
who had the money on their head, who had the most money on their head,
And who had
Young Dolph had the most money on his head.
And he had 100,000.
100,000 on his head.
And when you say his head,
I mean, if you kill Young Dolph, you get 100,000 off.
okay. At some point, you will testify that about the shooting of Young Dolph, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to that, were you involved in any other shootings?
Well, one day, Mr. Govan had provided me with a gun, and he told us that paper route was at home one day. So as we approached the house, me, Bobby, Justin, and another guy, I don't know the other guy's name. Bobby dropped me off. I get out walking on foot.
So he said Paper Route Wu had $50,000 on his head, and they were given his address, and they said that he was at home, and they were sent there to the crib with two other people, Justin Johnson, who already got 35 years in life. He went to the crib. He went to get that $50,000.
Wu coming out the house, and he had his gun in his hand at the time, and I was walking up the street, and me and him had a shootout or whatever, and the gun he provided me had jammed up, so I had to duck and Bob and Bobby had got to me. We got in the car and went back to his house and reported what had happened to him. And he was glad I ain't get killed that day right there. But Bobby was like, he wasn't messing with this stuff because he was believing what Jeff and them told him about. We messed it up or whatever. And we didn't have our masks on and all this. So Bobby felt bad.
Was there an incident with Paper Route that you're aware of prior to the incident where you were involved?
Nah, I don't know nothing else about no incident with Paper Route. Just this shootout that I had with him.
So he had a shootout. His gun jammed. Paper Route Wu came out of the house with his gun in hand, and he got to blowing at them. Mission failed, essentially, right? But he basically goes on to say that there was actually an attempt on Young Dolph's life the day before they actually got him. So apparently they pulled up on Young Dolph, right? They got the drop on him. I think they said that they thought they seen him at a gas station, and they had gone to go and get him, but they not missed the shots, but they missed Young Dolph. They got there after. They didn't get there in time. He'd got out of the area where they got the drop on him. But apparently the day after that was when they unfortunately caught Young Dolph at that cookie store.
Let's go to November the 16th of 2021. What were you and Justin doing that day?
Well, he had called me up. He came and picked me up. We had went because they had to take a drive in South Memphis somewhere. And me and him was out. We was riding, trying to get one of the artists that day that was doing the drive down there. And as we was out there, I got out on foot. And there was a lot of folks out there standing with guns with us. Justin was in the car. And he called me and told me that he had got a call to Young Dolph at a gas station up the street from where we was at. So I ran back to the truck. And I jumped back in the truck. When we got to the gas station, Dolph was gone. So we rolled around for a minute, and he dropped me back off at the house.
Now, I just want to explain, this is how crazy it is and how sad it is, because Young Dolph was known to drive around with a bunch of cars, bunch of really high-end cars. He's always rapping about his nice cars, man. And unfortunately, Young Dolph had he had good taste in cars, and he had bad taste in car wraps and colors, because he would drive around in cars in, these just crazy wraps, all these different colors, these camouflage, and he'd get all his cars wrapped in matching colors in all these camouflage. He had the shark, I don't know what you would call it, but it was like the bathing ape shark car, wrap. So Young Dolph, ironically, driving around in these camouflage cars, did very little to camouflage his activities. People knew he was driving whole convoys of these cars, right? So they're getting the drop on him at a gas station. You've only got to see one of these wraps to know where Young Dolph's at. So it's very unfortunate that he really had such impeccable taste in cars and that he was so fly. He was ultimately, in some ways, a victim of his own success, because he was driving around in these cars. They're catching him at the gas station. He's filling them up. I mean, he should have gone electric at this point, man. But it's very unfortunate. And they were literally a few blocks up from them, down the street. They were saying he's at the gas station down the street. They were grabbing their guns, running to the car, trying to get their 100,000. And unfortunately, the next day, Young Dolph was in one of his, I think it was a Corvette. I think people saying, I thought it was a Ferrari at first. People telling me it was a Corvette with the wrap on it. And you seen that car in the background of the photographs. If you see this, yeah, it is a Corvette, and it's looking like it's got that camouflage paint job. They know exactly what kind of cars Young Dolph's flying around in. It's it's not rocket science, unfortunately. And they thought they were going to get him at this gas station this one day. They didn't end up making it there, and ultimately they did end up getting him.
I laid down that night, and he was like, tomorrow we go back out and see what's up.
So on the 16th, at any point did you think, okay, maybe we have a shot at getting Dolph?
Yeah, because we knew he was in town. We knew Dolph was in the city then, and we knew that tomorrow we were full-fledged then. We know we anything in shape right now. We gonna get somebody. We gonna strike. Tomorrow is our day. We gonna strike somebody. We gonna get lucky tomorrow.
Oh. And at any point did you all have this conversation with Mr. Govan?
Yeah, we were telling him we really getting close. We getting fed up playing. We finna get somebody basically. And he was like, y'all do y'all thing. Y'all do y'all people.
And in return, you all were supposed to, you expected to be getting money, so.
Right.
Because that's what he promised you.
Right.
So we'll get you also.
So look, he got on the stand, man. He spilled all the beans. He let everybody know what's going on. And it is pretty damning testimony. I mean, to me, I'm watching this thinking, wow, that is it's compelling stuff. But then again, also, you got to think about this guy's motivation. He was one of the shooters, okay? There's very few ways that he can really save himself from this situation, and putting it on a head honcho like this is one of his only ways that he can get out of this, all right? It's very, very, very scary, okay? But in a completely shocking turn of events, an absolutely mind-blowing turn of events, okay, it turned out Hernandez Govan was found not guilty on all charges. Okay, it was revealed after this 4 days trial. The jury deliberated. 96 minutes of deliberation. They paused for the night. They resumed into the morning, deliberated for another 2 hours and 45 minutes. They cleared him of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Okay, for all of the witnesses, they had Dolph's sister, head of security, confessed killer Cornelius Smith, Smith's girlfriend, the lead investigator on the case, and 2 men who worked with the Memphis Police Department as digital investigators. And even with all of the evidence that was shown, all right, cell phone records showing Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, who was already found guilty, were communicating with Govan after the murder. Okay. They made the argument. They made some good arguments. Okay. Govan's attorney argued that Smith frequently bought drugs from Govan, so such contact was not uncommon. He also argued that Johnson had conversations with other people about murdering Dolph that did not include him. Okay, it was interesting that white Mercedes that was used in the murder was discovered at an abandoned house across the street from where Govan was living. Okay, so they did have a whole bunch of stuff. All right, and Cornelius Smith's testimony put it all over Govan. Okay, put it all over Govan, but they countered. They said, nah, he gave investigators different versions of the story. At one point, he said the orders came from a fictitious person. All right. People said that the girlfriend said that Big Juk ordered the hit in the same audio clip where he said that Quet set this up. Prosecutors argued that Smith met with Govan after the murder. Smith left his phone in the white Mercedes following the crime and met Govan at a car wash to get his phone back. Smith said Govan gave him money and bought a car cover to hide the Mercedes from AutoZone. All right, the defense said no video has been produced from either the car wash or AutoZone. All right, it was difficult. The Memphis PD said, look, the significance of those places wasn't known until months after the crime, and they couldn't get that video evidence. All right, they called 2 witnesses on Govan's behalf. The first was a lieutenant with the Memphis Police Department who processed the white Mercedes and testified no evidence of bleach was found on the car, which contradicted Smith's claims that he used bleach to wipe down the car after the crime. So some of this ain't making sense. He's saying it went down like this, and it didn't look like it went down like the way that he said. And this is really interesting, right? Because when you've got one of the guys that's a shooter, he's testifying against the guy that was the mastermind, and then the mastermind lawyers is getting the police involved to say, okay, well, is the stuff that the shooter said, is this stuff adding up? Is what the shooter's saying realistic? Things aren't quite working out. Things aren't adding up. And that puts so much doubt into the jury's mind that they were able to make a move. Okay, the defense also argued that despite allegedly ordering the hit on Young Dolph, investigators never interviewed Big Juk, and Big Juk lost his life before they could even speak to him. A sergeant with the Memphis Police Department testified investigators did attempt to speak to Big Juk at an airport, but he declined to speak to the police. The sergeant said that the Memphis PD began collecting phone records and other information on Big Juk, but never had the chance to interview him because he died in a shooting soon after. All right, Justin Johnson got life in prison. Cornelius Smith cooperated and has not gone to trial. He was trying to save himself. But now that the alleged mastermind has beat it, that snitching don't really count for nothing. He could be facing trial for this murder. That snitching might have been in vain. Who knows if he'll still get protection after this. All right? And in the closing arguments, the defense said Shelby County District Attorney's Office was an embarrassment in regard to the trial. The whole world is watching, and this is what we got. Now, the state clapped back. They said, are you kidding me right now? This was a crazy clip. He just called the whole city of Memphis dumb. Justin and Cornelius were put together by Hernandez Govan. He chose to ask each of them for a piece of the proceeds. He chose conspiracy. He chose murder. And Young Dolph will never get to enjoy growing old as a result. Yeah, the jury didn't go for it, though. The jury didn't go for it. And he beat he beat the hell out of the prosecutors, man. It was crazy.
This is breaking news.
Fox 13 bringing you breaking news. The jury has reached a verdict in the trial of Hernandez Govan. He is the man accused of organizing the murder of rap star Young Dolph almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, that jury is being seated right now. Govan facing first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit.
So this is the moment where the verdict was delivered, man, and you can really see the relief.
We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 1 of the indictment.
See, now this is a tense moment, right? You got not guilty on the murder, but what about the conspiracy? You still, your fate still hangs in the balance. This is tense moments.
State of Tennessee versus Hernandez Govan, count 2. We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 2 of the indictment. Ma'am.
Court's in session.
Ma'am. Ms. Johnson, is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Yes, sir. Is this your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Actually gives me a chill, man. Look, I'm a Young Dolph fan, all right? The jury's decided, okay? I'm a fan of justice. I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of street justice, man. I'm a fan of real justice, and ultimately the story didn't add up. The jury didn't accept it, and Govan was found not guilty, you know, and I mean, look, I'm a huge Dolph fan. The man that pulled the trigger, or at least the main man that pulled the trigger, he's doing life. He's doing his 35 years. And in the jury's eyes, there wasn't enough to really prove this conspiracy had been sent.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this your verdict? Yes. Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Yes, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to thank you for your service this week. You've done exactly what the court asked you to do, which was to sit, listen to all the proof, and come to a decision. You are excused.
The jury is excused. Thank you.
Crazy moment.
Go ahead, John. Court still in session.
Crazy. So Govan and his team would speak to news. They would speak outside of the courtroom, and they would go hard, man. In this speech outside the court, man, his defense attorneys, they basically cooked the state. They cooked the state. They said the evidence was absolute garbage. And they again, I don't really like when in these trials guys try to kind of play the race card and say there's a racial bias. There is definitely institutional and systemic racism going on in these communities. Facts. And this is a lot of the reason people get driven to engage in street justice. But in this case, you know, I don't know whether I think the fact that the jury made that decision, you know, there wasn't a bias. There was an opportunity to you know, be racist and just throw another black man in jail. They didn't take that. Okay, so, you know, you say what you want. They said that essentially there was a racial bias in even bringing these charges, but at the end of the day, things went the way that they went in court, and, you know, this man was given another opportunity at life.
News.
The evidence, the way it was presented, the things that they didn't do as far as going to getting the video surveillance cameras, doing the call detail records where the tower hits and all that could have been done, and we could have avoided this nightmare.
What was the one point of discrediting Cornelius Smith?
You can't just pick one. I mean, the whole thing was a joke. Even down to the neighbor that he supposedly gave $500 to, none of it was true. None of it happened. I don't even know if they have the right car because there wasn't a drop of blood in that thing. They didn't wipe it down because the expert said no, there was no evidence of bleach in that car. Nothing that man said was true.
Jesse Browning's testimony, you proved that to be.
Was there one moment in which you just knew that we have this? Or are you always sort of on edge until that verdict comes through?
I'm always on edge because there's cases I thought I would have won easily, and the jurors just get swayed by the publicity and the media. It's been so one-sided, calling him a mastermind. The press has been going crazy because only the DA talks. And that's the problem with our system, is because they make such a good first impression saying everybody's guilty that it's hard to get a fair trial. But thank God we got jurors. They took hundreds of pages of notes, and it didn't take them, 2 hours to figure out this was all garbage.
And they virtually echoed everything that he said in closing. And they were very critical that anyone could be locked up that long and didn't have the resources to defend themselves. The jurors said that. they echoed that. And the guy said, I am offended. I'm offended by this. And he said, and he was disappointed in Mulroy. And that's your elected official. That's my elected official because I live here. And you just go and do something.
So they would go on to just call out the evidence, just say it was a whole bunch of baloney, essentially. And, fair play to them. That the jury felt the same way.
At me if I said, believe those guys. Never take anything you heard in that courtroom for any decision you would make in your life that has any significance. You would laugh at me if I said, believe those guys. So let's just keep it real. This is all garbage, and I'm grateful that he's out, and I'm sorry in the world that he had to do 9 months in prison. And I'm just grateful his fiance called me, and we have the resources to help poor people.
You were very passionate in your closing arguments about, about Govan being just a man from Orange Mound up against the system. Kind of talk about where that passion came from.
When I go to 201 and look at the people that are in there, I know a lot of people do wrong, and I understand that, and I don't want violence in the streets because I live, in towns as well. But it's just so wrong. If I can see it, there's no way a jury couldn't see it, and that's why it took, 2 hours to figure that out. I mean, obviously it would have probably been quicker had they not had to go through the evidence and do their job, but the fact that anybody in the press would say, oh, it was this or it was that, it was clearly flagrant, and I wish we'd be reported as this is what your justice is in Memphis. So if you're black and poor, you got a problem.
So this was
Mr. Govan, how do you feel?
Mr. Rohr, this is pro bono. I was unaware
Feel
of
great.
that. Yeah. Oh, it was. Okay.
To finally have this stress taken off your shoulders.
Yeah, and have my life back.
What is the first thing you plan to do?
Go hug my son.
Mr. Govan, you haven't smiled all this week, but obviously you have a lot to smile about. Just tell me what you're feeling in right now.
Like I said, it's kind of hard to explain the feeling of getting your life back, just from 12 people, so I'm just blessed, and I'm just ready to go see my son.
What was going through your head when you were waiting for the verdict this morning?
Nervousness, of course, it's natural, but I got a team around me that was very confident and supportive, so without them, it wouldn't be no me. I just want to thank again Manny, Robert, Haley, Beth, Handel, Quantrell, Leanne, just everybody that played a part in proving my innocence.
You heard your attorney say if you're black and poor in Memphis, this is what happens. What would be your words of advice?
Leave Memphis.
Do you plan on leaving Memphis, sir?
Of course.
Was there any point throughout the week where you're like, you know what, I'm still nervous, prior to the verdict? Was there any point where it's like, I don't know which way it's going to go?
I've been nervous for 4 years.
How does it feel to be at the end of this 4-year journey that you've been on?
It feels great. Just feel like I've been born again. I get a chance to restart my life and do some positive things.
Do you think that this verdict will change how the court system is working here in Memphis?
As corrupt this system is, I doubt it.
I mean, even with his win, man, he's still saying the system's corrupt. He's still not feeling it. It is very crazy. But at the end of the day, he got a fair shot at justice, man. So look, it's one of the final chapters in the Young Dolph story. Now, I want to know what's going to happen to Cornelius Smith. He tried to talk his way out of this situation. It didn't work out. I would think that the prosecutors are pissed. Honestly, I feel like the prosecutors are livid, and who knows, man? Maybe they'll bring charges against him. Maybe he went to bat for the state, and they respect that, and they're going to allow him to slide. Who knows? But at the end of the day, they're going to want to deliver some sort of justice for Dolph's family. Maybe Justin Johnson isn't enough. Who knows? Maybe that Yo Gotti Rico could be on the way. Who knows, man? A lot of people have been speculating that. Big Jerk, unfortunately, no longer with us, no longer able to face justice. So, very crazy situation. I will be doing an update. I know you've been asking for this for a long time. I will be doing a full-length Young Dolph documentary on the channel. I've been waiting for all these trials to work their way out. Been waiting for more information. And, it might be time soon. So I'll be able to break down all of the facts. I'll be able to let you guys know exactly how everything went down. I'll be able to deliver you a whole bunch of information you probably haven't heard before. But yeah, man, not guilty. Crazy outcome. But at the end of the day, you got to respect the jury. And that is ultimately justice was delivered, perhaps in a way people weren't expecting. But at the end of the day, Hernandez Govan gets to move on with his life and definitely will will be moving out of Memphis. So let me know what you guys thought of that story in the comments. Let me know what else you want me to be covering. I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.